This is my 1950 John Deere BN, and I have been having a hard time starting it, and I can't time the Magneto very well. And so I started looking at things today, and the first thing I notice is the flywheel appears to be one spline off. The small dowel in the center of the crankshaft, that is straight up and down, and I have taken out the spark plug for the left side cylinder and put it on top dead center on the compression stroke, and that pin is supposed to be straight up and down like it shows, but this seam in the flywheel, that should also be horizontal, and it is like one tooth down from horizontal. So I'm going to take the flywheel off and position it where it's supposed to be. But wait, there's more. Let's come around to the other side where I've taken off the Magneto, and the drive right there, those slots are supposed to be horizontal also at top dead center, and they are not. So I think I can take off this governor housing cover and move the gear one tooth. I have to pull it off and just see where it is, but I think somebody's been messing with it and they moved it a tooth. So I'll get that pulled off. Somebody's been in here with our TV. That's great. Looks like I'll have to make a new gasket. Okay, I've just found the timing mark. And it is way up here. And I can't see one on the gear in the crankcase. Let me just show you what I found here. Right there is a little V for this tooth. And down in here on the mating gear, there's supposed to be another V, and those two are supposed to line up. Let me see if I can't find this one. I'm going to dig around a little bit. I haven't found the factory mark yet, but I did find a red dot that somebody has painted in there at that groove, and they've also painted red on that tooth, but that tooth is not where the factory mark is right here. So I don't know what's going on here. Maybe there's a mark, factory mark underneath that red paint. I'm going to scrape it off and see. I never did find the mark on the gear down in the crankcase, but I put it back at top dead center, compression stroke, and the pin is straight up and down, so it's a top dead center. I used a camera in the spark plug hole and watched as the piston came to the top of its stroke. I put the V, where is it? There it is. There's the V. It's at the pointing straight down. And what does our drive look like? It's a little up, but a lot better than it was. Got the governor back together, or the cover back on, and now I'm going to take the flywheel off and move it one notch back. I've loosened these 1 1/16" nuts, and I'm going to take off this big nut on the center. I used a plate of, I don't know what that is, 5/8 steel as a puller to get the flywheel started. It's coming off. It's probably close to coming off the splines now. Here goes nothing. I've marked the flywheel for the left-hand impulse. Should go straight back. Looking on the inside, there's a little protrusion right there. That's at the bottom spline. That will engage with that slot right there, which is the oil seal for the crankshaft. So this part will be spinning around with the flywheel and crankshaft. Next thing I have to do is set crankshaft end play. Need to grab a dial indicator. I have a dial indicator set on the flywheel. I have the clutch engaged. I'm going to go over and pull the lever in each direction without disengaging the clutch, and we'll see how much end play there is. That was 15 thousandths, and the spec is 5 to 10. So I am going to tighten this nut just a little bit, and that should give me the right end play. A little difficult to do with a camera tripod right here. Okay. It's about 10. I'm going to try going a tad bit more. Another tad bit more. That was about 8. There we go. 5 thousandths. Final step in timing these tractors is to make sure this impulse lug is in the right place. This cup says 25 degrees, so that means it's 25 degrees advanced when the engine is running and the impulses are disengaged. So when the engine is running, this will give a 25 degree advance to the Magneto. This lug, the only thing this does is time the impulse. So these 4 screws in here, you loosen those 4 screws, and this thing can rotate in there. And if you see that little protrusion there that hits that lug, and so that stops the rotor inside from turning. And this piece is still driven by the engine, by that slotted piece that we looked at earlier, and so that's being driven forward. And when this cup flange catches on that little lug, it'll snap that in, and it'll cause the Magneto to fire. So there it just fired, created a spark. And we know that these are supposed to be horizontal like that when the engine's at top dead center. So if I pull this around and stop it right there where it fires, you can see that they are pretty much perfectly horizontal. So this cup is 25 degrees. It's a 6274. There's a whole list of these cups online that you can look up. On most cups, this line is 12.5 degrees, and each one of these is 5 degrees. And so to get the impulse to delay the firing at startup to 25 degrees for a cup, you would go 12 and a half, 17 and a half, 22 and a half, and so right between 22 and a half and 27 and a half is 25. So you would line that mark up right there, which this one is. I have the Magneto installed. I'm going to check now for timing. I'm going to back up the flywheel some. Come up on compression stroke on the left side. Okay. I probably can't see it, but the pin in there, when that pin is vertical and these two, the dividing line on the flywheel is horizontal, that's when it should, when the Magneto should impulse. So we're coming up on compression on the left side. And I have the Magneto all the way turned forward, so that's all the way retarded. And so I'm going to set the mark on the flywheel to the mark back here on the cover. Right there. Okay, piston should be at top dead center. Going to turn the Magneto in the advanced direction until it clicks. Right there. And then we nail it down. Okay, I have to put the cover on because the starter on this thing has a loop over it that comes up with a big rod back here for your foot to push on it. And if you start the tractor without the cover on, that big loop thing keeps the starter gear engaged to the ring gear here, and it makes a whole lot of racket. Ask me how I know. So I need to put the big flywheel cover on, basically get it put all back together, put the plugs back in, and give it a try. Here's the moment of truth. I have a timing light set up, so I'll see how close the 25-degree advance is on the Magneto too. I would call that a success. So I'm going to put this little side plate back on, goes there, and take it for a little drive.